Yeah, I think it is. I think modern gaming kinda sucks, broadly speaking. Okay, when I started writing this script, I was gonna make fun of the 20 million people that have made videos on how bad modern gaming is. My expectation was, hey, I'm gonna take a balanced look and eventually work my way up to the conclusion that games are more or less as good as they've always been. I know, a moderate take on YouTube. Could you imagine? Then I was gonna call them babies. I was gonna make this. And then after doing some research, I realized that I am this and that it should actually look like this. Genuinely, I thought gaming in the current day was actually pretty good, and that perception was purely based on the fact that I've played some recent games and I like them. Maybe I've been so desensitized to new age company bullshit that I just completely forgot how sick games used to be. Also, I want to clarify that this opinion isn't based on nostalgia. I believe that the best games today are just as good, if not better, than the best games 20 years ago. I'd say if your top 3 games of all time are all modern games, that's a reasonable list. But the average quality of games has dropped. And I think I know why. Well, I have a theory. Again. Dude, my beard is so fucking patchy. Oh, GG, bro. First of all, have you noticed that we're getting fewer and fewer standout games every year? Because I didn't. Every year has just about as many bangers as every other year, is what I thought. I was stupid. That was stupid. Take a look at the games released in 2010.
Oh my god.
Mass Effect 2, Red Dead, God of War 3, New Vegas, Darksiders, Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands. That game sucks. These are the critically acclaimed games from 2010. Now let's fast forward to 2020.
What kind of place is this?
Doom Eternal. Alright. Ghost of Tsushima. Half-Life Alyx. Animal Crossing and Genshin Impact. Last of Us 2 if you're a lesbian, and Cyberpunk 2077 if you like being abused.
Oh my god.
Look, even if you count remakes and judge Cyberpunk in its post-fixed state, you still have 11 exciting releases to 2010's 19. Now, okay, you could say 2010 was just an insane year for gaming. 2020 was just average. This is an unfair comparison. You could say that, but it would be wrong because 2010 used to be average. Let's go 1 year forward to 2011. Portal 2, Uncharted 3, Skyward Sword, LA Noire.
Niggas call me the Dream.
We got a prequel to the greatest game ever made. Arguably the greatest superhero game ever made. Then Battlefield 3, Dead Space 2, Crysis 2. You remember when that was like the greatest looking game ever made or some shit? And like everybody was coming. Gears of War 3, Dark Souls, and the game that made everybody think Todd Howard was a literal god, Skyrim, all came in 2011. Do you remember how insane the rollout for Skyrim was? Now, let's see what 2021 had to offer us modern gamers. Well, we got a big titty vampire. That was pretty cool. Oh man, I can't even. That game was so ass. It Takes Two won Game of the Year. Nobody played that game. There was like a handful of games that year that anybody even looked at. I didn't even know what Deathloop was until the Game Awards. And to be honest, I've only heard negative things since. The average game used to be really good, to be honest, and the average game now is just kind of average.
I mean, it's alright, like.
It's actually kind of sad. As the gaming industry grows, our options for good titles just gets less and less. It's kind of, dude, the more money we give these losers, the more shit, like genuine garbage, they shovel onto our Steam store page.
I'm so sick of this fucking company. The trash!
It's really a lose-lose. Let's say the die-hard Elder Scrolls fans put their foot down and don't buy the Elder Scrolls 6. Well, their favorite franchise dies. But now let's say they do buy the Elder Scrolls 6. Well, their favorite franchise dies. That's what happened with Fallout. It's almost like the reason games are getting worse are the bigger budgets. Yes, that is the reason. Why is modern gaming bad? There's too much money involved. I'll explain. And by the way, I haven't watched these videos, but I imagine they came to the same conclusion. Games right now cost, frankly, way too much to make. Graphics are too good, and for some reason, every game needs a goddamn RPG system now. Why? Why is this every game? Video games are art. And making good art means innovating. For my example, Silent Hill. This is gonna be long. There is a reason Silent Hill popped off the way that it did. There was nothing like it at the time. It was genuinely innovative. It was inspired by Resident Evil, but it was not Resident Evil.
There are terrible demons. Ouch!
You're wounded.
That game was a fun zombie flick. This was a personal story that was about psychological trauma expressed through dark hallways and horrifying visuals. Just really scary shit, to be honest. Making Silent Hill was a risk because nothing like it had been done before. There was a good chance that people just didn't vibe with the psychological nature of that game, especially since Resident Evil was so not psychological. And at the time, that game set the standard for horror games of that era. The thing about Silent Hill is that it was meant to be a Resident Evil clone. There was a group of failed devs working at Konami at the time, all having worked on multiple failed projects. And after the success of Resident Evil, this team of devs were tasked with essentially just remaking Resident Evil. But Konami, okay, this is hyperbole. They weren't literally tasked with remaking Resident Evil. Konami actually wanted a 3D horror game inspired by Hollywood action films to rival Resident Evil. So you know.
Chris Redfield.
Seeing as they didn't have much to lose, but still being passionate developers, they said no. Instead of making a soulless clone for a quick buck, we're gonna make something new. Horror, yeah. Dark, yes. Resident Evil, no. Absolutely not. Had this team of devs just made what they were tasked with making, I'm sure it would have done moderately well. Konami's version of RE would have been a fun game to rent for a week and never think about again. A safe return on investment. Instead, what the devs chose to do was gamble on a new concept. And it worked out very well, but it easily could have gone the other way. The massive difference between then and now is that if it had failed, not much was lost. The game had around a budget of $3 million.
You're wrong! You're fucking bull!
Konami was an established brand, and Silent Hill being a failure wasn't gonna tarnish the legacy of an existing IP. Not like what they're doing now. Jesus Christ. This was a pretty low stakes gamble, all things considered. Publishers now are simply unwilling to take a risk like that, for the most part. I mean, there is still shit like AAA games today can cost hundreds of millions of dollars to develop. A publisher is not going to risk losing that amount of money because a creative game director has a vision. Innovation results in better games for us all to enjoy. That's what Silent Hill did. But publishers couldn't care less whether you were dead, let alone enjoying their game. All they want to know is that if they fork up $200 million, they better be getting $400 million. And they are for sure not letting an up-and-coming studio gamble that 200 million on an artistic vision. That means sequels, remakes, and gacha games. Risky ideas are how you make art, not money. We're gonna make 50 Call of Duty games, a new 2K game every month, and you better believe that when we do make a sequel, we're not gonna add any new mechanics or interesting concepts. We're gonna release the same game until the margins start to decline, which in COD's case is not happening anytime soon. You wanna know why modern gaming feels so bad? It's because of money.
I'm gonna come.
So, is that it? Is modern gaming just doomed to get worse the bigger the industry gets? Well, yeah. The average quality of games is probably gonna keep declining. I really believe that. But, like I said, the very best games being released today are as good as they ever were. While the industry may be moving ever closer to a universe where the shelves are exclusively stocked with Call of Duty and Pokemon.
Whoa, hey guys, welcome to EV Games.
We're not there yet. We are still getting games like God of War and Elden Ring. Chill out, bro. We still have like 30 years of sweaty ass Soulsborne games to grind on the horizon. All right. If you are like most people and just buy 2 or 3 games a year, then there's plenty to be excited about. And I've been talking AAA, but guess what? The indie devs are carrying game development on their backs right now. These small studios are pulling insane crunch hours to deliver us some of the freshest, best games ever made. And they're not even getting paid for it. Yeah, indie devs are masochistic freaks. It's because of them that games are still overwhelmingly fun if you know where to look. Oh, and double guess what? Most of these gems from the 2000s to the 2010s are basically abandonware now. Not that I endorse emulators or anything. No, please don't illegally play an amazing game that can't even be obtained legally if you tried. Modern gaming as a whole is pretty bad, generally speaking. F publishers, f Konami especially. But what did I say? Generally speaking. Yeah, 9 out of 10 games these days are copy and paste shit. But I'd argue being a video game enjoyer in the modern era is quite possibly the best it's ever been. The video game enjoyer. Yeah, I just didn't want to use the word gamer. Between the massive catalog of classics, an amazing indie scene, and a handful of genuinely incredible AAA games, every year, modern gaming might suck, but there's never been a better time to enjoy video games. Does that make sense? It makes sense to me. To be fair, I'm pretty autistic. See, I'm ending it on a positive note. You thought I was just gonna complain about microtransactions and remakes, didn't you? You have one job, all right? One, subscribe to my channel. That's it. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and, enjoy some Outer Wilds, maybe some Signalis. Oh, and get the Phoenix Wright trilogy on Steam. Holy shit, you will not regret it. I promise. That sounded kind of sarcastic. I'm being serious. Okay, bye.